Welcome to the Bare Essentials Podcast, where the talk is real and hibernating on your goals is not an option.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I am your host, Charles Wallace. I'm extremely excited to be interviewing today's guest. He is a national best-selling author whose book, The Meg, was made into a major motion picture starring Jason Statham. The follow-up to that book, The Trench, is currently in development to also be a major motion picture. This author is famous for his character development and amazing storytelling abilities. Some critics have even praised his books as the book of the period that you are likely to most read next. The science fiction author is popular for making a perfect blend of fact and fiction. So please join me in welcoming Steve Alten to the show. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for joining the show today. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure the audience is going to enjoy this as much as I am.
No problem, Charles.
Steve, if you could, for anyone in the audience that may not know you, they may not be as big a fan as I am, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Steve Alten. I'm the New York Times bestselling author of, 18, 19 novels, including the Meg series, which they made into a movie, major motion picture back in 2018. And they're going to be shooting the part 2 right now in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that, Steve. I usually start these with a bit of an icebreaker where I'll ask the person to tell something unknown about them. For this, though, I want to do something just a little different. Years ago, for your book, The Shell Game, you were doing kind of like a promotional thing. And I actually was a character in Shell Game. I was CW in the mainframe room. So I had to share that with you before we really got into it. One of the things that I really like to talk about with my guest, Steve, is about adversity and how it should be looked at as a motivator, even our friend and our teacher. I wonder if you could talk about the early years and some of your struggles prior to and as you were writing The Meg.
Let's see. At the time, I was struggling with a business that I had started in South Florida, a whole house water treatment equipment business. And I had my wife and I, my first wife, we only lasted about a year or so. We had separated, and I was living with my present wife and her kids and trying to make a living, and our daughter, our infant daughter. And so what happened was I tried a number of different things to make money, everything from selling electrical generators to hospital equipment to the whole house water systems at night. And it wasn't until I picked up a Time magazine in August of 1995 that I got the idea for the book. On the front cover was an anglerfish. And in fact, I'm not sure you can see back there, but there's, here, I'll grab it. I received this Time magazine with an anglerfish on it, and the article had spoken about the Mariana Trench and hydrothermal vents and all sorts of information that we were just learning about deep, including that there's actually life at the bottom of the ocean where the light can't penetrate. And it talked about photosynthesis versus chemosynthesis. But while I was reading that, I started thinking about this prehistoric great white shark that I had read about when I was 15. And for some reason, I thought, it'd be pretty cool if the shark was down there and it was still alive. So I set a goal that I was going to write this book. First, I had to do some research, and I had no internet at the time. That was 1995. So I went to the library and did the research by hand, and decided that there was nothing else out there like this. Excuse me. So I set out to write the book. And the first big challenge was that, the only time I had to write the book, because I had a job at JOB just over broke, that I was working from about 5 o'clock at night till about 10 at night. So the only time I could write the book was at night till about 3 in the morning and on weekends. And that's what I did. I set the goal that I was going to work on this manuscript and finish in about 6 months.
And, you know, as readers, we only get to see the end result. When I look at your body of work and all the books, the subject matter to me is very expansive. So 95, obviously no internet, but obviously now internet, things like that. What's the research process like for you? And on average, how long would you estimate it takes to complete a novel?
It depends on the novel. Obviously, I'm more used to writing the Meg series, so those are a little bit quicker. But you know, I've been working on the third book in the Locke series, Heaven's Lake, for about almost 3 years. So it's been a good write, but it's been a tough one, a challenging one at the same time.
I'm glad you brought that up because personally for me, obviously with the last name of Wallace, my favorite Steve Alten book is The Lock. So curious, what is your favorite, or maybe phrase it a little differently, what book are you most proud of that you've written?
Oh, that's a tough one because, you know, it's like asking a parent what's their favorite child. They may have one, but they don't like to.
They don't want to admit it.
they all have different characteristics that, you know, some play favorite to and some don't. But I'm not sure I have a favorite book. Most proudest, you know, the first one is always the most important one because that's what gets you your career. But it's the second one that keeps it. So I think that I'm going to be very proud of the one that I'm working on right now for several reasons. First of all, what you see here is a guy who's had Parkinson's disease since I was 47. I'm now 63. So that's 15 years, and things are more challenging right now. So it takes me longer to do things, and but the mind's still there. It's just the body's a little bit more challenging to control.
Yeah, Stephen, I commend you for that. And let me just say this to you too. You don't look like you're in your 60s, honestly. I was a little bit surprised when you just said that. So, Ian, good for you. When it comes to Meg, you know, it seemed like getting that to the big screen kept encountering a lot of different hurdles. During that, did you ever get discouraged, or did you ever even think, Steve, that maybe this may not happen?
I certainly was discouraged. You know, bad news is tough to handle. I've had challenges, like you mentioned. You know, we've when I had the manuscript of the first book done, actually, when I had the first, I was able to get a literary agent, Ken Actually, at AEI, and Ken believed that Meg would make a good book and movie. But his goal was to take the first 100 pages and a treatment for the rest of the book and take it on a first look deal to a friend of his, Warren Zide, who's a producer. And Warren had a first look deal at Disney's Hollywood Pictures. So before the book was even optioned or finished, we ended up getting a first look deal at Disney's Hollywood Pictures. And then we took that and packaged it together and took the final manuscript out. The completed manuscript, I should say, to the 6 biggest publishing houses in New York. So literally speaking, I went from, at the time I was working in a wholesale meat company as a general manager, which is a long story in itself. But I had taken this crazy family business and sort of gotten them all to work together. And on Friday the 13th in September 1996, I went to work and had no job. They let me go. So that was fine. I didn't have any money in the bank at the time, and I was supporting a family of 5. And my wife was very upset. And I said, honey, this is the best thing that could have happened because now I get to work on my second book. Oh. And she about hit me on the head with a frying pan. But 4 days later, Ken actually took the manuscript. Well, he started a bidding war, and at the end of day 3, we had our first 2-book deal for 7 figures for Meg and what would eventually become the Mind Doomsday Prophecy book that I wrote, Domain. The roller coaster, I hate roller coasters, but the roller coaster was going up and that was about to come down. So I'm working on the book 2 for about a year and a half. And Meg had become a bestseller in hardback, but the movie studio was struggling because the head of the studio was about to get fired. So when the head of a studio gets fired, any project under him usually gets tossed. Mm. And so Meg the movie at Disney was put into revision. Meanwhile, my publisher, Band of Doubleday, was going through their own changes. We didn't know at the time, but they were being bought out by Bertelsmann, this big German conglomerate. And so the outgoing editor at the time, the president of the company, was trying to make her bottom line look better. So she started dumping all the front-loaded advances, including mine. So 2 weeks before I was supposed to get paid a lot of money, my publisher stopped answering her phone or her emails. And that was not a good thing. So as I was about to be paid for the second book, they dissolved the contract. And so that gave us little choice but to, we had to sue to get the rights back to the book because I couldn't rewrite the book unless I had the advance money back, or unless I had paid the advance money back, which I couldn't do at the time. So that led to some problems. And so while my attorney was suing Doubleday, I went out and wrote the sequel to Meg, The Trench, which is the movie that they're filming right now in the United Kingdom. And that was 1998, I believe. So that was a while back. And so my third book went to my third different publisher. I'm sorry, my second book, The Trench, went to my second publisher, Kensington Pinnacle. And my third book, which turned out to be Domain, went to my third publisher, which was Tor Forge, which they've handled most of my books since then. So that's how my career got started.
As far as the movie Meg, I was curious. Personally, I'm a huge Jason Statham fan. Honestly, though, I was a bit surprised when they cast him. I was surprised at the choice. When I watched the movie, though, I'm like, oh, it was a great choice. I was curious, how did you feel about that casting for Dr. Jonas Tower? Or did you have anybody else in mind?
He was at the top of my list, to be honest.
Okay.
And so when I heard that he was excited about the part, that I got very excited about it because I think he's terrific and Jonas is an action hero who later on goes on to become sort of a prehistoric shark enthusiast and educate himself with a doctorate degree in the book, but the movie was a little bit different, the screenplay.
Yeah, I think the end result, I think he did the role justice and more. I enjoyed it so much. I can't wait for the trend. So, Steve, the night of that premiere, how do you feel? Like, what's going through your mind? Is it kind of relief or is it just surreal at that point?
Well, it was actually a very stressful time. You would think that I waited 23 years for this moment, that I would be pretty excited about it. And I was, but, I had some physical concerns because, we were going to walk down instead of the red carpet, they had a blue carpet and pass all the reporters. And walking wasn't a great thing for me at the time. So I had some challenges getting across the blue carpet and was able to answer a few questions and then just moved on. And once we saw the movie, the movie was fantastic. So I was very happy with that. But then there were some other things that would come up that I don't really want to go into that were challenges that I had to meet for the next 6 months, and I was able to and go on from there.
I respect you so much for the way you handle yourself. I know you were diagnosed with Parkinson's at 47. I mean, for you being an author, I'm sure it brings out some fears, but how does that news hit you, and how's your mindset? Do you go how you're going to handle this and how you're going to cope with it?
Well, at the time, the only signs that I had was that my little finger was twitching. And actually, I'm right-handed, so the signs were primarily on my right side of my body. I was also getting horrible toe cramps at night. And I knew something was happening, but your mind kind of goes to the worst place. What if it's ALS? What if it's a brain tumor? What if it's cancer? Who knows? So when the doctor told me that he suspected that I was having the first signs of Parkinson's, my first response was, that could have been a lot worse. Mm. And I refused to take the medication at first. I wanted to be medication free. I wanted to handle it as best I could physically by working out, by eating well, and staying active. And I was able to do that for about 6 or 7 years, but things were getting worse. And by the 7th summer, I was not in good shape. Now, I had an interesting situation because I had, I was looking everywhere that summer for some kind of cure or some type of treatment that would remedy my situation. And I came across a guy that had put a video together that showed a Parkinson's patient, and he was being pushed in a wheelchair to his car. And he was helped to the front passenger seat. And his wife gave him a spoonful of this black tarry substance. And 10 minutes later, the guy is out of the wheelchair, and he gets in the driver's side and drives away. So it was like amazing, Superman.
Wow.
And I found out what this extract was, and I was able to get in touch with the filmmaker, the Parkinson's patient, and he introduced me to this guy who made it. And that has helped me with a lot of things. So that extract, which is very expensive, unfortunately, has helped me stay off, has helped me in conjunction with the meds, so that I'm a little bit better than I could be had I not gotten a hold of that. So we'll leave that at that.
Well, Steve, again, I think a credit to you. And again, I can't thank you enough for even doing this today. I think that even shows courage to get out and do things like this and continue with your career. And you're also doing some things I wanted to ask you about, because I think it's fantastic. I wanted to just ask a little bit about your Adopt an Author teen reading program. I mean, I think that is such a fantastic program and a great way to give back for you.
Well, the Adopt an Author program started when Meg was out in hardback, and I started getting inundated with email from teachers who were telling me they were using the book in class, and students loved it. And I was getting email from students who said that they hated to read, but they loved reading Meg, and it was many of them it was the first book they ever finished. But I realized something was happening. My background is actually in education. I have a bachelor's, a master's, and doctorate in education. I'm certified to teach. And I realized that something important was happening here that I needed to be a part of. So for teachers who were looking to use the book in their class, what we did was we created a curriculum that they could use, obtain for free at the Adopt an Author site. And in addition to that, I would send them books, and not books, but posters, and I would do email with their students. And when the unit was done, we would do an in-class Q&A over the speakerphone. Mm. And but what happened was that the book was so good at motivating students to read that it came in as the top selection for young adult readers. And that was about 20 some years ago. Yeah.
And Steve, not just for motivating kids, I'll admit, back before I read Meg, I wasn't the most avid reader myself. Once I read Meg, then I started looking for more of your books. I did read the Domain series, Lock, obviously, Shell Game, things like that. So not only kids, I think you inspire even more adults who may not be as reading as much as they should. I think you inspire them to read too. I think your subject matter it's great to read. I mean, look, for me, maybe this is immature of me, but who wouldn't want to read about prehistoric shark? I just think you do such a great job with your storytelling and things like that. Steve, I wanted to end with this. Do you have anything like in the works now that your fans should keep an eye out for? And then how can, fans who want to keep up with you on social media?
Well, getting my free newsletter every month is very important because that will keep you up to date with my things that are going on. And also if you want to be a character in one of the contests or one of the books that I'm pre-selling right now, like the Lock 3, Heaven's Lake. That's the next book I should finish. And I'm hoping to get that done in the next 2 or 3 months. That's turned into a really good story. I'm really excited about that. And so that's coming up now. I'm also working on Sea Monster Cove, which has been my pet project over the last couple of years. And that site has been unbelievable, and we're adding a lot more to it in the next couple of months. So if you haven't joined Sea Monster Cove or checked it out, go to www.seamonstercove.com and by all means, check it out.
Steve, I will definitely be checking that out. And I really can't thank you enough. I'm a big fan. I appreciate what you do. And I'm so looking forward to the next book in the Lock series. And I wish you nothing but more success and keep inspiring people to read, adults and kids alike. So, Steve, thank you. And I want to thank everybody for listening today.
Thank you.
This has been the Bare Essentials. Thanks for listening. And remember, never hibernate on your goals.